Welcome to the Author's Porch, where every good conversation happens. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride from author to author. We want to give you an experience where you learn and enjoy the conversation. Authors tell you about their journey, you learn about new books, and at the end of the day, you go home with a smile on your face because the Author's Porch is a beacon of light, bringing you home to the family you never knew you had. We hope that you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Author's Porch, where every great conversation happens. We're back. We just went off 20 minutes ago and we're back. But this time we are talking to the amazing Andrew Howell. How are you doing, Andrew?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. I was just telling Andrew how I sadly missed Comic Con this weekend, but the good thing is we've got somebody here who is well-versed in this arena, because since the age of 3, when he discovered drawing, that's what he's been doing, and he's been living his passion. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background on Andrew from what I've been able to divulge by reading some information on him. And then we're going to go into this organic conversation and kind of geek out a little bit on graphics and webcomics and all that other stuff. So I get to have just a little bit of my geeking out time make me feel better for missing Comic Con over the weekend and not seeing William Shatner, who, that's okay, he'll be around next year. I'll find him next year. So guys, Andrew Howell is a storyboard artist who writes and illustrates his own work. Like, who wouldn't want to illustrate their own work? Me, because I have a comic script that I wrote, but I got to get it illustrated. I have an illustrator. I just got to actually get it done. Anyways, his debut novel, Beyond, a comedic supernatural thriller, which I seen the look ahead and I looked into it, and it's actually really cool. It's 216 pages, which I'm geeking out as well because my script is only 30. I have no idea how he wrote 216. It earned him the 2022 eLit Award Silver Medal winner for graphic novel drawn in the book humor cartoon category. His passion evolved over the past decade, moving from a hobby to 3 webcomics that generates several million views annually. So it's needless to say, Andrew, it's not a hobby anymore.
It's a hobby. It's a hobby.
It's a hobby that's very productive.
I make a little bit of money off of it, but like not enough. Not enough. I still need a day job.
Well, I think having a day job keeps us honest.
I think it keeps us sane.
That too. It makes me wake up in the morning.
Yeah, it can be good for sleep schedule, assuming you're not working completely outrageous hours. It's good to just have your thumbs in many different pies. It's nice to have a well-rounded existence and not just totally commit yourself to, I'm on my computer all day and I'm doing this one thing.
Well, my day job is on the computer, and then I write on the computer. So I live on this thing. How about you? Does your day job also have you living in this
yes.
screen?
Yes.
So we are literally controlled by this thing, but it's okay because it's not a bad place. We're even talking on it now.
Mm-hmm. It's a useful tool. I fall into the habit of I work in my office, I play in my office. Sometimes I'll play computer games. My side personal art projects are in my office. When I should crack out the laptop more, and I should go to the library or work in a Starbucks. Or even if you're working on the computer all day, you got to keep things fresh, and you need to change the scenery.
It's people-y out there.
It's people-ing out there?
It's people-y out there. I'd rather write about people, which you do quite well in your comics, because they're pretty funny. The comedic thriller. How did you come up with that?
Okay, the story's a little mundane, I'm afraid. I was sat down with a high school buddy one day, and he just told me, you should write a book. I had been making my first website was my only website is Jolly Biscuit, where I used to post weekly these weekly funny type comics.
Yeah.
But this friend Mo, he really liked my work, and he took that and said, "Hey, you should do something more serious. Let's sit down. Let's plan something out." And we kind of brainstormed for a week, and then we came up with this idea about stuffy British people and ghosts.
That's actually funny because the British love their ghost stories. I lived there for 3 years and everything's haunted over there.
Everything. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of history, and I wonder if that has anything
5
to do
million
with it.
years old over there. And I love the British people. Trust me. But everything's haunted over there. So British and ghosts go together like the tea and crumpets.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it was also I wanted to go for that gothic vibe. I wanted to go for that. You pick up some of the classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I wanted that feeling and that aura. And of course, I have to do British.
It works very well. Works very well with that type of comedy. I watched a lot of the British shows when I was over there, and their comedy is very, some people would think it's dry, but it's not dry. It's it hits you. And when it does, you don't realize it's hitting you. You just kind of smile and you're like, I
Hmm.
see you. Yeah, that right there. What you keep doing. What you keep doing. Hmm. So
Not
you have been drawing since you were 3 years old.
that is correct.
How have you evolved your specific style?
I'm I'm not sure I have one particular style.
Mm,
If when you're drawing for long enough, you're going to play around with all sorts of styles. And uh, so my first project was Jolly Biscuit, and this was just silly cartoons. So I'm going to have weird bug-eyed people, and I'm going to have folks with huge mouths. You're just going to play around with proportions and wacky characters. And beyond, I wanted to play it safe, so I was using a lot of those same cues, and it's a very cartoonish book.
hmm
Um, and I've heard my friends say that my style is like taking human anatomy and throwing it into a blender, which, yeah, I don't want any two people to look alike. I try to infuse as much diversity as possible into it. But my other projects, I'm working on a post-apocalypse series. This one takes a lot more inspiration from old Soviet propaganda posters.
Yeah,
And I'm working on a science fiction series, and this one's a lot more inspired by Japanese manga and anime
love it.
style. But yeah, I take that, and then I'm still infusing. I like cartoony. I like silly.
And looking at your drawings, they really remind me of some of the styles that I grew up with. I'm 45. I'm not scared to tell my age. I embrace it. I love my age. But I look at the stylistic, obviously you have a very unique style, but it's not like you have to have the perfect proportions. And I hear a lot of people say, well, their hands shouldn't move that way. And I'm thinking, but it's an interpretation. You have to, and I really enjoyed it. I looked at your Jolly Biscuit website and I I connect with that art because that's how I see life, as very abstract and very obtuse, for lack of better words, and very just do do it however you want. It's life.
And frankly, if we didn't have sort of these unreal or surreal elements in just any art. If we were to make art as cut and dry, this is an exact duplicate of real life
Yeah.
as possible, then it just wouldn't be as interesting in many cases.
Very true.
I mean, life, like, people don't talk like they're in Quentin Tarantino movies. If you listen to two people having a conversation in a pub or a Starbucks or anything, we stumble over our words and we stutter, and there's going to be awkward pauses. It's very unchoreographed. It's very unscripted.
Yes, very much so. And I'm a complete disaster talking, yet I have a podcast. Yeah. There should be like a, of me scratching my head noise in the background, but I don't have sound effects. So what influences your art?
Ooh, what influences my art? I'm a child of the 90s, so there's a lot of Simpsons.
I love them.
I'll be frank, there's a lot of Simpsons in my inspiration.
Yeah.
And then a bit of South Park, a bit of Family Guy,
Everybody
a bit
loves
of SpongeBob.
Carmen. Everybody loves Carmen. Was he your favorite?
Cartman, I love to hate him, but I love to love him. It's
like I watched him myself, but I wouldn't let my kids watch him. I was like, I'll watch him, but I'm going to turn it off when you're around, type of thing.
Oh, we watched it anyways. Like, we weren't allowed to watch it, but we found a way.
All right, I'm going to have to find out. I'm going to call my son later and be like, I just found something out. Tell me the truth now. Okay. What are some of the key themes that you write about in your stories, like on Jolly Biscuit? Are they kind of realistic, or are they just stuff like Cartman and The Simpsons, or do you have more like real life themes that you talk about?
Jolly Biscuit is really stream of consciousness and slice of life type material.
Yeah.
When you stick to a weekly schedule, eventually you're just going to find yourself sitting and going like, okay, what happens this week? They go to the bank. I don't know. What's a funny thing that can happen at a bank?
Okay, so I have to tell you this small little story because I think it's funny. My kids think I'm not funny. I think I'm hilarious. So I work in a customer service job, my day job. I've been doing it for almost 30 years. Did it in the military for 20 years. Now I've been doing it, in my civilian life, my afterlife, if you should say that. So we talk about the calls that we get. In customer service, you get some pretty crazy calls. So I started this little comic strip called Mac Services, and it's hilarious. We talk about the crazy stuff, and the person on the phone is actually holding a banana, not a phone. And it's, just free art off of the web. It's not something that I can draw because I can't draw. I can't even draw a stick figure, let's be honest. But I think I understand, when you're doing the weekly thing, just kind of putting together what you've encountered in life and what you think could be funny. And you're highly successful at it because you have original art that you're putting there every week. Does it take you a long time to draw that art?
I find the most time is in the writing and in the brainstorming.
Okay.
If you know exactly what you're going to do, you can have it done in 2-3 hours.
The drawing.
The drawing, the formatting it, the creating the panels. If I knew exactly what I was going to do, but a lot of the time you can sit there for hours trying to come up with the perfect punchline. Or you can sit there for an hour. There's, okay, this one panel over here, I'm going to need an action. What's the funniest or most interesting or most dynamic way to have this person punch this guy in the face? Or whatever's needed.
Yeah. Now, your book, Beyond, which I was absolutely fascinated once I started looking inside of the pages and looking at the graphics and everything. It's a comedic supernatural thriller. It's 216 pages. How did it end up 216 pages? Every graphic novel I've read, I have quite a few on my shelf because I've read comic books when I was a child, and now as an adult, I read graphic novels. I know a couple of graphic novelists, and I tried my hand at one. I have a script. Like I said, but my illustrator I love his work so much that I'm waiting to save up to pay for him. He's already done a couple panels, so I'm just waiting. But 216 pages. How did it get that big?
One thing leads to another, leads to another. So my writing process for these big projects is, before doing anything at all, there has to be at least a very vague, very basic roadmap of, okay, this is the starting point. And then by chapter 1, I want this to happen. And then chapter 2, they're going to be going over here. And things are going to be cut, things are going to be added and changed as you work through it. This project it took me 2 years to finish. 2015 to 2017, I was working on it.
Wow.
And it was basically a full-time job during those 2 years. And I was a really lousy student, by the way. And yeah, when you're working on something for so long, I mean, you're gawking at 216 pages. My next book's probably going to be 300 plus pages.
No way.
And it's going to be part 1 of a trilogy. So,
those are books people put on their coffee table.
Sorry, say that again?
Those are books people put on their coffee table. Those are talking point books. When someone comes into your house, those are books that everybody has to see when they come in their house. They're not ones they put on a shelf and eventually somebody will read one day or again one day. No, that's when guests come in the house, that's the first thing they see.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of too big and awkward to put on a coffee table.
No.
Unless you have a nice centerpiece to prop it up.
That's you put it right next to that beautiful centerpiece. That's a talking piece book. That big graphic novel, that's a talking piece book. So this one, can you give us a little more insight into what give us more about the book? Just a little bit. No spoilers, obviously, but some more.
The new book that I'm working on right now?
No, Beyond. The one you're promoting. Yeah.
So, yes, Beyond. The premise is the main character dies immediately, and we follow their adventures through the afterlife.
Okay.
Beyond that, there's mystery, there's conspiracy, there's murder most foul, and just adventure. They pass away, and the premise of this afterlife is we all die, and we all go to the same place when we die. Every last one of us, and we're stuck there forever. You, me, Julius Caesar, Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, all the kings and queens and peasants throughout history, and not just the humans, the animals too. There's kind of a crisis in the afterlife that there's like an entire geologic epoch of insects. So they have to build their cities up high to stay away from all the insects that just dominate the ground level.
That's fascinating. That's a lot. You really built this story.
These are the kinds of things I think about. These are the things that anyone thinks about when you're writing a book for 2 years, and then you go, well, wait, how would that work? How would this?
So, did you go to school to learn more about design and drawing, or did you go to school for something else? Because I saw that you graduated with a degree.
I'm a computer scientist, actually.
Okay.
So I'm very much self-taught. I had very supportive parents, But when I was younger, I still had it in my head, like, you can't go to art school. That's not a real job. You can't make a living doing that. So it was always a side project and a passion for me. But then I got my degree, and then 3 months after I had my first real job, I got noticed by a studio, and they said, hey, want to draw storyboards for us? And yeah, I work in art now. So it's funny how fate works.
It was like you tried to do what society feels is a responsible thing, but art intervened.
It keeps pulling me back in.
Well, I mean, that's how destiny is sometimes. Destiny sometimes for certain people is so strong, no matter what you try, it will get you.
And yeah, if you love doing something and you put yourself out there, eventually, like, you get noticed. And it might take years or decades for some people, but you do it enough, you increase your chances, something happens.
Yeah. Now you say Jolly Biscuit. You've been doing. How long has Jolly Biscuit been up?
10.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, last December was the 10-year anniversary.
That's
and I've been
fantastic.
working on it all those years.
And you do that once a week. You have a new comic up, right?
It used to be once a week, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And life just became too busy and hectic. So I said, okay, once every other week.
There you go. But there's still content going up, even though you are successfully working in the art industry doing storyboards. You just finished and published and wrote a 216-page graphic novel. You have a full-time job. You're a successful novelist with a book out there that everyone's going to have on their coffee table as their centerpiece next to another fancy centerpiece, so it becomes a talking point when people come in their house. And you're still giving people free content to read every other week. I mean, come on, that's pretty significantly amazing. And I still can't draw stick figures.
You don't have to. You don't have to. In the age of the internet, there's people who can't draw anything, and they use clip art, and that's the joke. Oh, it's ironic. It's supposed to be bad, but it isn't. As long as you have the writing or you have the humor and the jokes, like, people will read anything.
Well, they'll read a lot of stuff, not just anything. It still has to be good writing. I do use clip art for just the little things I do within my office. My little comic strip I do is for us three ladies in our customer service, so we can have a good laugh. We do those type of things for ourselves because I know how to use Canva very well, and I'll make little things for us internally. But what you do as a graphic artist and making graphic novels and comic strips, like the real stuff, I'll call it. I'm not ashamed to say it. The real stuff is freaking phenomenal. Like, I'd give one arm, not both, because I need at least one. I get to type, and I'll give my right one because I'm left-handed. I'd give one arm to be able to do that. It's phenomenal. It's like this place in your brain that a lot of people would love to tap into.
Yeah.
You were doing it at the age of 3.
Oh, I mean, I was terrible at 3, but everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you work at something for over 2 decades at this point, I mean, so it takes time.
You've got another book that you said you're currently working on.
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
So my next book is a science fiction. It's set in the distant future in a faraway star system. And in this future, the Homo sapien is extinct. The universe has been inherited by our what would you call them? The descendants of neo-humanity, which is people genetically engineered, cybernetically enhanced. I play around with transhumanism. I play around with, well, if you did have people living on different planets for years and years, separated by time and space, like you're going to have weird fish people, or you're going to have maybe people living on gas giants with wings. Who knows?
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been taking that and running with it. Wacky science fiction adventures, a little astronaut walking around on an alien planet, meeting new people and different cultures.
That would be cool. So you're going to create your own beings.
Yes, different humans and different. It is an alien star system, and there is a native alien wildlife, flora and fauna. But I'm also writing about colonialism, taking a lot of the contemporary and historical commentary about Earth's own past with colonialism, and like, oh no, we're doing it all over again. This is terrible.
Yeah, let's get it right this time. Yet you've got a fish head with human legs, and yeah, that's interesting, because I think, repeating something over the same way is like, we've done that before, but repeating it, but with a little twist here and a little twist there, and some, commentaries in certain ways, could be quite fascinating.
Well, this is what I love about science fiction. The best science fiction out there is always about contemporary issues right now. It's just, okay, take, I don't know, take WALL-E. And it's like, well, WALL-E has a lot to do with overconsumption and waste and despoiling the environment. And it's like, okay, these are all problems today and right now. And the writers just look at that and say, okay, what if we took that, but turn the dial up to 50 billion?
Yeah.
And what does that world look like?
Yeah. And there's some people that won't realize that it is exactly what you said it is. It's today's problem enhanced and tomorrow's reality. But those that do realize it, they internalize it. They can internalize it and go, that's genius, because it kind of capitalizes on the current issue and makes you really think. Those that are those deep thinkers. I look at some of the science fiction of so many years ago, and all they were doing was thinking about certain things, and I'm like, we're living that today. Mind blown.
It's always okay. Science fiction writers often get a lot of things wrong when predicting the future, and I don't necessarily think it's their job to predict the future. But it's always like, okay, 50 people were wrong, and this one person was right, and then we go, they knew. How did they know? But they kind of just got lucky.
They were either psychic or a time traveler. Which one? I mean, I haven't met Quark yet. I'm a Trekkie. Obviously, we were talking about William Shatner earlier and how it was my dream to meet him. I haven't met Quark yet, so the people who have the Star Trek conglomerate, they haven't gotten that right yet. But we have had an increase of UFO sightings, so I just might have the ability to meet Quark from Deep Space Nine.
Oh no, I hope there's aliens out there, just because it would be cool. Would be cool. But
I just want them to be cool.
I hope that they're ugly. this sounds like a really weird thing to say, but I love Star Trek as well. But if the flying saucer descends in front of the White House and the ramp comes down, and it's just like a purple dude with ridges on their forehead, I'm gonna be so disappointed. I want this awful octopus monster that's incomprehensible.
You
to
want the
humans.
fish head with people legs.
Yeah, I want something that completely outrageous and otherworldly.
Yes, I totally get that. Oh, but until then, we're going to have a fantastic time reading Beyond, which is your current book, because that has a lot of facets that we need to learn about and get to know more of your art so we can get ready for your next book, which is your science fiction book that is going to come out and teach us about all kinds of new worlds that could possibly land in front of the White House and come out and scare the bejesus out of us. And while we're reading the novel, everyone can go. I'm going to put your link to your website, Jolly Biscuit, in here so they can go and they can start reading those weekly. Do you have any other links, Andrew, that we can put in here for people to follow you?
I'd say go to Jolly Biscuit. I have Facebook, I have Twitter, I have Tumblr and Instagram and everything, and you'll all find it on Jolly Biscuit.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I want people to go out and check this out. The art is phenomenal. It's above reproach. I mean, if he can draw a 216 page graphic novel, illustrate it and write it all at the same time, while keeping up with a weekly, now bi-weekly web comic that gets millions, several millions. Is it 700 millions? Let me look at my notes real quick. I don't want to get that wrong because it's very important. Several million views annually, and have a full-time job and do storyboards. This is something you guys need to be checking out. Just saying. And attending a lot of cons yourself across Canada. And you went to Alaska. Was that for a con or just to go to Alaska?
Oh, in the notes? No, not this week. I came back from a convention this week. I was at Calgary Expo.
Okay.
And yes, get out there, support artists.
Yes, it's very important because a lot of people will. I have no problems with AI. I love AI. I think it's revolutionary, but it's only if it's pulling from artists who share their art and are selling their art and openly are putting it in. So you can sell your art to like Canva and to other places and allow it to be utilized, and then they are pulling it into AI generated images. And I have no problem with that. But if it's websites that are using AI generation and stealing it, I have a problem with that. So there's my little AI thing. So I'm a supporter of AI as long as it's being used in a manner that it's not stealing from artists.
To get the massive data sets that are required to generate these images in the first place, there's almost no keeping track of all the information that goes in. So it's like someone's going to get ripped off
Yeah,
at some point in the line.
that's
And
unfortunate.
yeah, I mean, it's spooky. I've thought about it, and my gut feeling is, okay, I'm a professional artist, and I think they're coming for us. They're taking our jobs. They're stealing our work. But then I also think it's here to stay.
Yeah,
And we have to talk about what's the best, most ethical ways of using this technology that we're not stealing other people's work,
yeah,
that we're not just throwing artists and workers out the window, and we're respecting some of these labor concerns.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's tricky, but it's also like we opened Pandora's box. I don't think we can put it back in.
Yeah. And I think it's very important that by supporting the artists, going to the cons, buying their books, buying their work, supporting them by commissioning them when they have commissions available, then you're actually showing that support and keeping them and their art out there and using them the ethical and legal way. So guys, go and check out Jolly Biscuit, see more of Andrew's work, support him and the things that he does, and the many, many other artists. So Andrew, thank you so much for being here tonight. I've had a blast. I finally got to geek out. I waited for months and months, didn't get to go to Comic Con, but I got to be here and have my very own personal Comic Con type convention panel talking to you about your art. So thank you so much. You made my dream come true.
I always love talking about Star Trek, even though I don't think I talked about Star Trek, but I like listening to people fawn over Star Trek.
Oh, I could go on for hours. But I mean, my co-host is Dobby the house elf. He is free. He has a sock, but it has nothing to do with Star Trek. It's Harry Potter, but give me almost anything sci-fi and fantasy and I'm all over it. I love it. I enjoy it. And then whenever I actually finally finish my comic, I'll reach out to Heather and be like, "Hey, send this to Andrew. Ask him what he thinks."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I would love to send you a copy of it, just to show you that I'm trying as well, just having fun with it because I love the world that you live in every single day. I think it's absolutely fascinating. It will be my probably one and only, just because to pay homage, to say I love what you guys do and I wanted to give back to the artist world. My graphic designer that I work with, he's a veteran like me, and we connected through the veteran world. And I think you guys are fascinating artists, are where the rubber meets the road, especially for us authors. And for you being both is like mind blown. I can only do one. I'm not doing both. But thanks for being here tonight. Don't hesitate when your next book comes out to come back, have a chat with us, show us some more of your work. Is there anything that we did not talk about that you want to make sure that we get out there into the world? Because sometimes I get a little chatty and I was over here geeking out and fangirling. I may have forgotten to ask you about it.
Anything that we forgot? I know. For the listeners, the book is Beyond with an exclamation point at the end. That's very important. If you're looking it up, it's Beyond with an exclamation point.
Okay. Make sure you grab Beyond with an exclamation point. I saw it on all the major platforms. Excuse me, because I was looking at, go look at the read ahead, especially on Amazon. They you do a little look ahead, look see, and you get to see some of the graphics. You guys are really going to love it. Again, thank you again, Andrew. This is our last show for tonight, guys. I'm not coming back on, I promise. I'm going to bed. I'm old. I need my sleep. Thanks for coming on, Andrew. It's been a blast. Take care of yourself and make sure you come back when you get your next book out there. And good luck with everything. Bye, everybody. Bye, Andrew. See you guys later. Bye.